Hello and welcome to an India Today special broadcast that comes to you from Haifa in northern Israel. I'm Gaurav Sawant on a day that Israeli Air Force jets have relentlessly pounded the bases of Hezbollah in southern Lebanon, on a day that Israel has also targeted both the Hamas in southern Israel and also the Islamic Jihad in the West Bank. The situation here remains extremely precarious. Israel, as Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu announced, the world is fighting a war on multiple fronts, on at least 7 fronts. But there's breaking news coming in. There's been a terror attack inside Israel. There's just been a report of a major terror attack that has taken place inside Israel. This is being reported from the southern part of Israel, on a location called Bir Sheva, where the terror attack is believed to have taken place. And I believe one person, the initial information that we are getting in is one person is dead. At least 8 are injured, out of which 4 are said to be critical. It seems from the initial information that we are able to get, a person was able to acquire a knife, a long blade. He used a long blade to first target a security forces personnel, and then snatch his weapon, and he opened indiscriminate fire. That's the information that we'll be able to get right now. We'll get details. In fact, on this special broadcast, I'm joined by Lenny. Lenny is a photographer here in Israel. He's in fact a chronicler of the 2006 Israel operations in Lebanon against the Hezbollah, and he's also chronicling the current operations. But before that, Lenny, what have you heard of this terror attack that's taken place in Bir Sheva?
Well, so far we know about one casualty, one person that is dead, and we know about a few people injured, and several, some are very slightly injured and some are heavily injured. We are very sorry to find out that the terrorist was an Arab Israeli.
Oh, so it was an Arab Israeli.
Israeli Arab that we want, I was thinking always about the coexistence in Israel, wanting to live together and wanting to have everybody have equality and everything, and they have. And now, unfortunately, we see that these people or this person turned upon us, and unfortunately, it's always from that side. What can you do?
What more do we know of the attacker? Are there any details in public domain?
We know that he's a Bedouin resident of Israel. He's a Muslim Bedouin, living in Hura, which is near Beersheba, in the south of Israel.
Now, this is the second attack that's happened, second terror strike that's happened in a week. Just before we got here, there was one in Jaffa, in the southern part of Tel Aviv. And that's also, a very vibrant part of Tel Aviv.
Of course. That is the center of Tel Aviv. And what these people are trying to do is to put terror and more terror and more terror. And maybe somebody thinks that we will give up because of this terror, but we won't. It's only making us stronger and stronger and stronger. Unfortunately, we have to fight this terror, and it might be unpleasant to the terrorists or to their surroundings. And that's what we have to do, because we want to survive, and we will survive.
So, if I am to understand correctly Israel's position right now, the Israelis or the Israeli forces, the armed forces, are fighting against Hamas in Gaza, in the West Bank against the Islamic Jihad and other organizations, against Hezbollah in Lebanon, against the Houthis in Yemen.
We had drones from Iraq last night. We had drones from Iraq.
Yeah, a drone from Iraq. So Shia militia in Iraq and Syria, and of course the fountainhead, as you call it, or as Israelis call it, in Iran.
Yep.
And plus these elements.
Now, unfortunately, there are elements over here that are being. There is a lot of people that are trying to get the Arab Israelis to go against Israel, and sometimes they succeed, and this is the result. Very unfortunate result of that, because we would like to see coexistence and live together, because everyone here has equal rights. It's a very fair democratic country, and we're very sorry to find this happening time and time again.
Lenny, we'll continue our conversation about the operations right now. But for the benefit of our viewers, I want to, for a moment, just give them the latest bits of information that we're getting once again. So the information that's available is one person is dead, at least 8 are injured, 4 are critical in the operations in this terror attack that's taken place. And apparently, the shooter who snatched a weapon from a security forces personnel and opened indiscriminate fire, he too has been taken down and is believed to be injured. More on that story, but now I want to expand the scope of this discussion and on the day's developments that have taken place. So Israel is steadfast that Israel will strike Iran. The question is not when, but where and the intensity, and where all will that attack take place, and not if that attack would happen. That's what we are being told. But on the other side, Iran's also threatened that the strike back from Iran would be even harsher, even more than the 181 missiles that were fired last time. And Iran's also threatened that the energy centers of Israel will be in the line of fire, which incidentally is right behind me here. The port of Haifa is a very, very crucial. There's oil and there's gas. There's a refinery right here in Haifa, and Hezbollah terrorists have relentlessly targeted not just Haifa, but parts of northern Israel. In fact, through the day today, there were air raid sirens on along not just Mount Carmel where we are, but the Haifa Bay and other parts of this vibrant city. But will Israel strike Iran? What will be Iran's response? And that's keeping this entire region on the edge. Let's listen in to what the Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, has to say. Let's also listen in to the 45th President of the United States of America, former President Donald Trump, also the Republican candidate in the upcoming presidential elections.
There is nowhere in the Middle East Israel cannot reach. There's nowhere we will not go to protect our people and protect our country. With every passing moment, the regime is bringing you, the noble Persian people, closer to the abyss. But you know one simple thing. Iran's tyrants don't care about your future, but you do. When Iran is finally free, and that moment will come a lot sooner than people think, everything will be different. Our two ancient peoples, the Jewish people and the Persian people, will finally be at peace. Our two countries, Israel and Iran, will be at peace.
The move taken by our armed forces was the least punishment for the occupying Zionist regime in the face of the crimes, the unbelievable crimes committed by that regime, the bloodthirsty regime, the wolfish regime. We neither hesitate, we will not give up, but we will not rush at the same time.
It's the biggest risk we have. Nuclear weapons, the power of nuclear weapons, the power of weaponry. You know, I rebuilt the entire military, jets, everything. I built it, including nuclear, and I hated to build the nuclear, but I got to know firsthand the power of that stuff, and I'll tell you what, we have to be totally prepared. We have to be absolutely prepared. But when they asked him that question, the answer should have been, hit the nuclear first and worry about the rest later.
And joining me from Iran right now is Ali Akbar Dareni, who's a researcher at the Center for Strategic Studies. Of course, Lenny remains with me on this special broadcast to talk about what is Iran likely to do and what would Israel's response be, because this is an issue that's being talked about virtually in every home, whether here in Israel or in Iran or perhaps across the world. But this is something that will have a massive impact, not just in this region, but globally. This will have a huge impact. And Ali Akbar Dareni, if I may, what's the thinking in Iran right now? Those 181 missile strikes in Israel, that actually has Iran directly into this conflict. So far, Israel said Iran's been fighting through its proxies, through the Houthis, through the Hamas, through the Hezbollah, through the Shia militia in Iran, in Syria, and in Iraq. But now Iran is directly involved. What will Iran do if there's a strike back by Israel?
Iran is prepared for the worst scenario. Israel knows no red lines. It has no moral limitations in carrying out crimes against humanity. Look at what it has done in Gaza: genocide, ethnic cleansing. So Iran is prepared for any possible Israeli attack. Iran will not tolerate even a symbolic attack on its territory. So if Israel is going to attack any part of Iran, whether it's going to be military installations, economic infrastructure, or nuclear facilities, Iran will react accordingly. It has prepared the responses already. So it will depend on the nature and extent of the Israeli action. If it passes through Iranian air defense systems, I have been told that Iran has prepared a detailed plan on how to impose costs on Israel to make it regret.
Let me for a moment take this now to Lenny. Our guest from Iran, Ali Akbar Dareni, says that Iran has a counter-strike plan ready. It depends on where Israel strikes, whether it's the oil facilities or the nuclear research center or the command and control structure. Accordingly, Iran will respond. Do you see this as a massive escalation across this region now?
I think this has to be done. This has to be done. We have to respond. We have to respond, and we have to show them that they cannot do whatever they want with Israel. Israel is strong enough. Israel can respond, and Israel will respond. I don't know when, I don't know where, I don't know how. That is left to our leaders to decide. But we will respond in a way that they will be very, very, very sorry for what they did. As our Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said, they made a very, very big mistake. And I hope that the people of Iran will feel free from this regime that is now in power over there.
But what I want to understand from you, so far you were targeting the proxies, but the fact you as in the country, so far Israel was targeting the proxies. The killing of Ismail Haniyeh in the presidential palace compound, of course, Israel hasn't officially taken responsibility. That drew Iran into this conflict. The killing of Hassan Nasrallah, Iran thought it had to respond. Now, if Israel were to respond, wouldn't it lead to a massive escalation and put this entire region in jeopardy, in harm's way?
Anytime you do something, there is a respondent. See what we respond to. Nasrallah or Haniyeh. Haniyeh, I'm not saying, I don't know who did Haniyeh. I don't know. Maybe some other from the moon, somebody came and did it. I don't know who did it, but I think it's a very, very right thing to do. Wherever it's done, I think that any murderer that murders women and children and elderly people, he shouldn't be alive. He should be killed, wherever. And if someone from Mars came and did it, I'm very happy that they did it.
But, isn't there a due legal process, a law process that should be followed?
When the minute the terrorists will follow the law, we'll also follow the same law. I think Israel is following too much international law at the moment. We are following international law and the terrorists aren't. They're targeting civilians all the time for years and years and years. They've been targeting civilians all over in Sderot, in the north of Israel, in Haifa, everywhere. They just target civilians. And they even don't try to evict civilians from there.
Let me take this to Ali Akbar Dareni once again. Ali Akbar Dareni, you heard what our analyst here, Lenny, had to say, that in case there is a strike back by Iran, there will be a massive response. There will be a massive response from Israel. Now, will this not lead to a spiral and escalation? So who's on top of this escalation ladder?
Iran is relying on itself. Iran is pursuing self-help. So Iran has made itself prepared for a counterattack in case Israel engages in adventurism. But let me first get back to the spokesman's rhetoric. He is not in a position to describe Iran. Israel repeatedly said that it has no enmity with the Palestinians, but it is at war with Hamas. But it has massacred 42,000 people in Gaza, in the same way that it is massacring Lebanese people, but it claims that it is war with Hezbollah. It's the same with Iran. These, psychological war is not going to work. But Iran, it depends on whether the United States is going to fall in Netanyahu's trap of being dragged into a war. If Iran's nuclear facilities are attacked, it will strengthen the position of those who want Iran to finish the job and pull out of the NPT and weaponize its nuclear program. If it is going to attack Iran's economic infrastructure, Iran will retaliate. Iran demonstrated its political will and its military capability by pinpointing Nevatim Air Base and other targets. The next time it can target Israel's economic infrastructure and will make Israel pay a very heavy price. So but Iran will not accept a vertical war. It will go for a horizontal war. Vertical war is between two parties, but horizontal war, in a horizontal war, you expand the geography of the war. And if that is going to happen, the world security and the world economy is going to suffer greatly. At the end of the day, why should we need a world if Iran is not safe in it?
Let me take this to Lenny once again, and let me get a response. A guest from Iran says that when Iran targeted Israel, it was just a Nevatim air base or places from where aircraft had been launched to target the Hezbollah or Ismail or other organizations. However, they claim, or Iran claims, that when Israel targets people, let's say Hamas, 40,000 odd people have been killed in Gaza. A large number of civilians have also been killed in Lebanon.
Well, let's separate between the things. First of all, when Iran targeted Israel, they maybe aimed at something, or maybe they told their people that they're aiming at military bases, but they don't know where the military bases are. And they, of course, they're not so good at what they're doing, so they missed. Maybe fortunately for us, unfortunately for them, there was one person killed in this latest Iranian attack. It was very sorry for them. It was an Arab Palestinian in Jericho that he was from Gaza, and he was the only one person that was killed by the Iranian missiles. So, I'm not sure if they were aiming at military camps or military bases. Maybe that is what they give themselves as a cover story, but that is not true. Now, unlike that, and an opposite of 180 degrees, exactly the opposite. What Israel does, Israel for decades informs houses in Gaza before they shoot at them, before they bomb them. We bomb only targets that are that we have proof that they are being used for terrorists. We only shoot at places that are hiding weapons and that are used by the terrorists.
The situation on ground, however, and Iran, the apprehension is that instead of this becoming a war between Israel and Iran, there may be other Islamic countries that may get involved. Is that an apprehension in the minds of people in Israel, whether countries like maybe the United Arab Emirates or Saudi Arabia or Jordan or Egypt or Turkey or Turkey, they get involved?
Maybe Iran would like to get them involved. We are not involving anyone with this, but maybe some other countries that also don't like the Iranian regime might be helping us. I don't know about it, but these are rumors that I hear, and maybe Iran will have something to do with them, like Iran has in the past bombed targets in Saudi Arabia.
Okay. Very, very interesting, Lenny, for joining me here on India Today. Many thanks. So what you seem to be seeing in this conflict is a very interesting cat and mouse game that's on. There are very interesting mind games that are being played at multiple levels. So while you have a war that's on ground, there's a war that's being fought in the skies, with, of course, Israel having complete air supremacy when it comes to countries like Lebanon. But at the same time, Iran using its missiles to attempt and target is Israel, even though the multi-level protection here, the Iron Dome, the David Sling, the Arrow 2, the Arrow 3 missile defense system, the Patriot missiles, and beyond them, the fighter jets of Israeli Air Force, flanked by fighter jets of the US Air Force, countering those incoming missiles on that day. Well, there are some who also say that the Americans had given a major head start and advance notice and warning to Israel that the ballistic missiles were being prepared for launch, in a way helping Israel counter them even better. But is this war now likely to escalate altogether at a new level?